Everybody doing this afternoon? Y'all doing well?
Sure.
Good, good. Well, listen, I'm gonna dive right into this because we're recording this, and we're gonna so that we can pass this along to some of our Bethany influence pastors that really like this kind of stuff. And Pastor Jonathan asked me if I'd fill in for him this afternoon. As you know, he's at the ARC conference, and so we'll be just praying for him. And I'd like to open in a word of prayer, and then we'll jump into this. Let's just pray. Father, I thank you for this time together. We dedicate it to you. I thank you for these men that you have put together as a team, a band of warriors, a band of mighty men there serving the vision at Bethany. And Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to serve you. We thank you, Lord, that this is actually what we get paid to do, is to be priests of the Most High God. And Lord, I just thank you that as I share this afternoon, this equipping word, that you would just equip us all for greater and greater influence in your kingdom, that we would be able to help people at a greater level, that we would be able to serve at a greater level. And Lord, I just pray that the words that we speak this afternoon would encourage, they would lift up, they would motivate, they would inspire, and they would bring us to a new place in our leadership. I thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's see. Ben, is there a way where I could see them, or because I'm locked, do I have to look at myself?
You're going to have to look at yourself.
Okay. All right. All right. I want to talk to you guys for a little bit on the subject of self-awareness. Self-awareness. And I hope you have something to take notes with, because I'm gonna give you a good bit of stuff to chew on. And this is one of those words that's meant to kind of agitate a little bit. It's like that grain of sand in the oyster. It's meant to create a pearl, and it's not going to happen overnight. As a matter of fact, self-awareness is a pursuit that we have to engage in for the rest of our life. There's never a point where we say, okay, I've arrived in self-awareness, because we're constantly changing and shifting who we are and picking up things from people around us and being put into new environments and having to adapt to new roles and routines. And so self-awareness is a constant pursuit. I want to give you two quotes. One of them is by a guy that I watched a TED Talk on this very topic about. He said, self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth and success. Self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth and success. And then I phrased it this way: self-awareness is the why behind personal development. It's the why behind personal development. You know, it's easy when you're spending every day and you're growing personally, after a while, to say, you know, what is this really accomplishing? What kind of return am I getting? What's the ROI, return on investment, in this daily time I'm giving? I try to give about 15 minutes a day to personal development, and that adds up quickly. You're talking 300 hours a year easily that you're putting into that. You're talking about a lot of effort and discipline. What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And the real answer to that is self-awareness. Now, when I say that, that means different things to a lot of different people. And maybe in your mind, there's a few little things that means. You say, well, that's not really a good payout for that kind of investment in personal development. Well, I hope that today, when I get done with these next couple of minutes, you will be motivated to even pursue personal development at a higher level, because you're going to see the extreme value in self-awareness. So I want to begin by giving you key areas of self-awareness. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just meant to stimulate your thinking and get us kind of in the right frame of mind. And then we'll finish up with several ways to increase our self-awareness. But most of what I want to give you right now are questions, because questions are really the primary source of self-awareness. You've got to ask questions. So each one of these, I'm not going to so much teach you, but I'm going to ask you questions, because this is not about me giving you how to be self-aware. That's not how self-awareness works. It's got to be something that happens inside of you. And when you start asking yourself the right questions, that's when you're going to start awakening to these arenas of self-awareness. So the first one is in the area of people skills. People skills. Now, this is the most predominant area that people think about with self-awareness, is how are you interacting with other people? And here's some questions. How do you enter a room? Are you mindful of the way that you enter any type of room or setting? How do you listen to the needs of others? Do you have a listening ear? Are you always looking to respond or say what it is that's on your mind and heart? And I know this has been a huge area for me. All my life, I've loved to talk. I've loved to contribute. I was the first one to raise my hand in class with the answer, and I was that annoying person. And it's been very, very hard for me to back up and say, you know what, I'm going to listen, not so I can respond, but so I can listen and hear and empathize and know what that person is saying. And when you're preaching all the time, like I am right now, you do all the talking and you do zero listening. And it kind of builds that into your natural conversational style to where you just don't really want to listen to anybody. You just want to hear yourself talk all the time. And that's a real pitfall as preachers and communicators. We have to be careful that we're willing to listen for listening's sake. And it will do wonders for your marriage if you learn how to listen for listening's sake. And self-awareness teaches you, hey, you know what? I'm not really listening. I just want to talk. You know what? I'm not engaged in this conversation. You know what? This person doesn't feel special when I'm talking to them because I'm not engaged with them and I'm not making eye contact with them. I'm not fully present in the moment. And only self-awareness can teach you that. Self-awareness will teach you how to interact in conversation, ebbs and flows, give and take. It'll teach you when to hug, when to shake, or when to touch someone's arm. Self-awareness plays into all of those things. A lot of times people who put their foot in their mouth a lot, what is lacking there is self-awareness. And you know what? I'll be the first one to pull a big Peter and put my foot in my mouth. And it's because I'm not really aware of the context of the situation or who it is that I'm dealing with. And so that's the first and most obvious area of self-awareness. Now, the second is in your communication. What do you really look like when you're communicating? Now, today, it's not hard for me to know what I look like because I'm having to look at a full screen of my big mug right here in my face. But most of the time, you don't see yourself when you're communicating. You don't know what you look like. And inevitably, there are things that you're doing that you need to stop doing. And so self-awareness is, what do I sound like? Am I yelling? Is my voice inflections right? Am I speaking too softly? One guy that I was coaching, he just always talked one notch too low. And I kept telling him, you're coming across as timid because you're not projecting your voice. And so that type of stuff requires self-awareness. What did you really communicate? I know what you thought you communicated, but what did you really communicate? Was it clear? Was it linear? Did it make any sense? Did it keep people's attention? Did it move? Did it have illustrations? Was it something that was worth their time? Did they leave there and feel like it was valuable for them to get up and come to church or come to your house for a meeting? What was the real result of when you communicated? Do you have habits that need to be broken? Do you say or man or like or you see? My wife was reading a book last night and every other paragraph started with you see. And she said, it's very strange. This is a great book, but every other paragraph starts with you see. And I said, that's because it was transcribed from a sermon from somebody who has a habit of saying you see. And obviously this person is not aware that they're doing that to the point where even in the manuscript of their book, they didn't pick up on the fact that they were saying you see at the beginning of every other paragraph. So what are habits? Do you look at one side of the room more than the other? Do you make eye contact? Do you look at the back of the building the whole time and never look at the front? What do you do if there's an intimidating person in the room? Do you shy away from that side of the platform? If Pastor Jonathan's sitting there to the left, do you always go to the right? These are things that self-awareness brings to your attention for you to change. And without it, you'll just keep doing all these things and you'll stay mediocre in your communication. Another thing, do you put your hands in your pocket? One of the things that I've seen a lot of communicators are doing now, they're putting their hands in their pocket. This is really a no-no. It's a safety measure. It's something that says, I'm kind of disengaged. It's sending nonverbal cues, and it can be a safety net. What to do with our hands, our gestures, is a huge thing. My wife is all over me because I am constantly getting into weird gestures when I speak. And she has to tell me, okay, now you're doing this, now you're doing that. And as soon as I get one fixed, I get another one. And trust me, there's nothing I hate more than my wife having to tell me where I'm jacking up and communicating. I don't like it one bit. My ego hates it. My pride is just insulted by it, but it's exactly what I need to hear. And that's where self-awareness comes in. Number 3, what is your positivity quotient? Positivity quotient. Do you consider yourself to be a positive person? Well, most people do, but most people aren't. Would other people confirm or deny that? How and where can you improve your positivity? Are you complaining too much? Are you very sarcastic? You know, sarcasm is a telltale sign of negativity. It's probably the hardest area for me in positivity is getting rid of sarcasm. I love sarcasm. I am very sarcastic. I like people who are sarcastic, but it is negative, and it will bring about a negativity in the atmosphere when there's sarcasm. And so we've got to be self-aware and say, what is my positivity quotient? Am I exuding positivity? Am I someone who carries positivity, or am I really negative most of the time? And then I turn on the positivity every now and then when I think I need to. This is a cause for self-awareness. Now let's look at number 4, energy. Are you low energy like Jeb Bush?
Low energy.
Everybody knows that one line that Donald Trump used to take Jeb Bush out of the whole race. Jeb, you're low energy. On the other end of that spectrum is President Trump. The guy is high energy nonstop. You catch him at midnight, you catch him at 8 in the morning. Everything's fantastic. Everything's huge. Everybody's great. Everything's working. Everything's moving forward. It's a positivity wave that can be surfed nonstop. And we have got to have energy, brothers. And, you know, this has been a real challenge for me with my health because a lot of times, like the season that I've been in, I don't have energy. And you know what? The bottom line is I just got to work that much harder because whether I feel like it or not, I've got to have energy to connect with people and to be successful at what I do. If I don't have energy, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to connect with people. I don't want to serve people. When I have high energy, I'm magnetic, I'm charismatic, and people are drawn to me. And so energy is a huge factor. And we've got to evaluate, you know, am I a high energy person? Do I bring high energy to the table? Or am I limiting my leadership by being low energy? Listen, low energy is not a personality type. It's a weakness, and it has to be fixed. There are 2 areas of energy we need to pay attention to. Number 1, physical energy. Do you have the stamina and energy to make connection with people day in and day out? Nothing is more tiring than connecting with people. It takes so much energy, but it is so well worth it. I've talked to you guys before about the relational snowball and how building a church, planning a church requires relational connection that requires tremendous energy. That's why you need to be doing cardio. That's why you need to be in shape. That's why you need to be eating healthy, because you need energy. I look at some of the people that I've been around lately who have the most influence. Pastor David Crank, a good friend of mine now, who I went to his church in Florida while I was there. The guy is nonstop energy. He works out every morning. He drinks wheatgrass. And he did a Facebook Live 2 days ago, had 75,000 people on it live. I mean, we're talking about the type of energy it takes. And when I get around it and I see it, it amazes me and it inspires me. And these guys, Craig Rochelle, David Crank, all these guys who are operating at the highest level are extremely energetic. They're machines. They're getting enough rest. They're working out. They're eating healthy. And they're executing with energy night and day. And we need to be inspired by this, brethren. We need to see it. We need to feel it. We need to feed off it. And our leaders and our people need to feed off of us as we walk in that energy. The second part of energy is emotional energy. What is that? Do you have the emotional bandwidth to stay energetic, interested, and engaged day in and day out? This is where time off and rest really come into play. If you're burning the candle at both ends, you will not have the emotional bandwidth to be energetic emotionally. You need a Sabbath. On your Sabbath, don't work all day at the house. You need to rest. You need to do things that relax you. You need to spend time with your wife. You need to take a nap. You need to do things that will re-energize you emotionally so that when you get with people, you're maximizing the opportunity to connect and engage with them and make them feel special and like they're worth your attention. And that all requires tremendous energy. And so you got to be self-aware and monitor. You know what? Am I sluggish? Am I lethargic? Am I disinterested? Am I passive? Or am I walking in energy? I learned 3 years ago when I went through a very, very serious battle and I was coming out of it. I had to start walking. And so as I'm coming out of this battle right now, every morning, this morning, I got up, we make a lap around the block. It's a quarter of a mile. And that's all I can do right now is 1/4 of a mile. But I'll do that till I can do half a mile. And then I'll do 3/4 of a mile. Then I'll do a mile. And I'll regain my stamina and my energy will bounce back and I will be able to execute the ministry before me at the highest level. But it takes constant intention and constant pushing and going for it, even when you don't feel like it. So that's a very important aspect of self-awareness. Number 5, appearance. Appearance. Now, this is a very touchy one, and I'm going to mess with you on this one, but this is a very important aspect of self-awareness. Does your look help or hurt you? Do you dress in a way that brings respect, or do you damage your credibility the moment people see you? Is the goal of your attire to make you comfortable or those who you are serving comfortable? See, a lot of times we dress for our comfort and not to serve other people. Why do servers wear tuxes at super nice restaurants? Because they want the constituents to feel like they came to a place that's special. Tuxes are never comfortable, but they speak loudly. And our appearance is very important, that we're well groomed, that we've been intentional. And let me talk about your dress, the clothes that you're wearing. Everyone has an opinion, but very few have taste. Let me say that again. Everybody has an opinion, but very few have taste. You know, I've learned with my wife, when it comes to decorating our house, I have an opinion about everything, but I don't have any taste when it comes to design. Basically, my opinion doesn't matter. And the less I have to say about it, the better it comes out looking in the end. And some of us are that way with our dress. We need help. We look frumpy. We look sloppy. We're wearing jeans that are baggy, shoes that are old, jackets that don't fit, shirts that are too big. We're underdressing. We're dressing down to a level and we're not carrying respect with people. We're not noticing our audience. These are factors that are hugely important in self-awareness. Now, I remember Stovall Weems saying, what you need to do is go to Banana Republic and buy what's on the mannequin. Get somebody else to help you pick out clothes that are nice and that make you look like you're a professional. Now, some people, we all can't dress like Hank Hennigan. Hank's got the vest. He's got the heel figure. He's got it all. Maybe you need to get him to help you. There are different guys who have a taste with clothes. I know, like my brother James, he helps all of us. He's got great taste. And, the opposite of that is Jason. He'd wear camouflage every day if he could, and he don't care about it, but it doesn't change the fact that he's got to look professional, and he's really upped his game. The other day I was over there and he was wearing a suit. He was going to a meeting and he looked all nice. And, we've got to have self-awareness, and you dressing yourself to the best of your ability really boils down to a lack of self-awareness a lot of times. And, I know, like I've noticed people, my sister, Melissa, she is amazing with clothes. And so, I've always asked her, I try to get opinions, try to figure out, maybe your wife doesn't have good taste in clothes and she's telling you you look good and you don't look good. And so self-awareness says, you know what? My wife doesn't have any taste in clothes, but I'm going to have the discretion not to tell her that. Don't tell your wife that she doesn't have any taste in clothes. That is not a good idea. In fact, don't tell her she doesn't have taste in anything. That is not a good idea. But we've got to be, and sometimes haircuts have got to be regulated right. We get too hipster and we alienate a lot of people from our credibility. On the other side, if we don't get haircuts enough, we look shabby, we look frumpy, and people see us and they may not articulate it, but they just don't really care for our voice or our opinion in their life. Let me move on. A can-do attitude, number 6. Are you a yes person or a no person? Everyone knows when someone is always saying no to everything. They gun down every idea because they're lazy and they don't want to execute it. You know what? If somebody knew they didn't have a can-do attitude, they would fix it, but they haven't ever gotten enough feedback to realize that they're lazy or they have a can't-do attitude. And so we need to be talking to people. We need to be evaluating ourselves. We need to be getting feedback to know, are we a can-do person or a can't-do person? Number 7, value to the team. It takes self-awareness to know your real value to the team. Do you know where your greatest contribution to the team lies? Have you gravitated to what you like over where you bring the greatest value? See, that's a mistake. Just because you like doing something doesn't mean that that's where your greatest value is to the team. Are you willing to admit to yourself where you're weak and offer others opportunity to make the organization better as a whole? It takes self-awareness to know where you're weak, and takes security in yourself to give people power to execute in the areas that you're not good at. I know sometimes as leaders, we start thinking we're good at everything, but we are not. In fact, we're not good at most things. And so let's do what we do well, and let's empower others to do what we do poorly. Now, let's go to the 4 keys to developing self-awareness. Number 1, ask questions. Ask questions. Notice I put all of this in question form today because we need to be asking questions. In the economy of today and the market of the future, questions will be more important than answers. You can plug something into Google and get an answer at any time. It's the people who ask the best questions who will excel in this new and emerging market. Number 2, seek mentoring. We all need voices in our life to give us a different perspective. If everyone is always agreeing with you, then your self-awareness will never grow. Let me ask you this. Who do you have in your life that will not only disagree with you, but does often? Who in your life will disagree with you and does so often? If you don't have a person or persons in your life, you are not growing in your self-awareness and you're not growing as an individual. You need people who will question you and point out deficiencies. Number 3, value feedback. When people do give you feedback that you don't like, you should take it more seriously than when they give you feedback you like. You should crave constructive criticism. You should look for it. If you speak, some of you guys spoke last weekend, you should not rest until you get 3 things that you did poorly that you need to change in the future and work on. Don't just let everybody tell you you killed it and you did great and you were anointed and all that. That doesn't help you one bit. You need to force out into the open areas where maybe your content was weak, maybe your delivery was weak, maybe you were too serious, maybe you put your hands in your pockets to hold them. I don't know, but don't rest. If you're leading worship, get feedback. Whatever you're doing, your administration, your oversight, your volunteers, you need feedback, and a good bit of it needs to be something that can challenge you. Number 4, and the final one, the greatest question, my favorite question of all. Dad and I always ask this. I ask it of myself all the time, and I hate it when it's of myself. How's that working for you? How's that working for you? What about your marriage? How's that working for you? Well, it's okay. Well, it's not really great. What you're doing is not working. Do something different. Start listening to Jimmy Evans every day. Become a better husband. Get more engaged with your wife. What about your finances? We're always tight. We're always living hand to mouth. We never have enough money. How's that working for you? Ask yourself. Say, you know what? I'm a terrible manager of money. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. I need somebody to help me. I had a financial group here in Dallas work with me for 12 months to help get my junk together because I am not good at handling money. And I had to come to that point where I became self-aware that I wasn't good with money. And once I admitted it, I sought out help. I eradicated the problem. And now I'm aware that I'm not good with money and I need help. And so self-aware, how is that working out for you? If you don't like your job, how's that working out for you? If you don't like your friends, how's that working out for you? Maybe you're not a good friend and that's why you don't have good friends. And instead of blaming people, and this one and that one, start looking at yourself, because at the end of the day, you can only control what you can do. So this is my little spiel on self-awareness. I'd like to in just a moment open it up for discussion, because I want to hear from you guys on some areas that spoke to you. But let me say 2 things before we do that, and then we'll stop this recording and we'll move into some more personal discussion. I want to recommend a book to you called QBQ. QBQ, the question behind the question. My wife recommended this book to me. I read it. It is phenomenal. It has about 45 little chapters that are 2 or 3 pages a piece. And I encourage you to read one every weekday and just saturate in this book. Use it for a month or 2 and go through every little chapter, and it will help you. Let's see. The second thing I want to give you is, if you'll write this down, bit.ly/self-awareness7. That's a bit link to my notes. In fact, if somebody wanted to, they could print that out and hand it out or whatever. Everything, all of the questions that I've asked, all of this is there, because I know I've been machine gun firing today. And somebody say, I need to go back over that. I want to teach that to my people. I've given you the whole outline. I've also given you a link in there to QBQ on Amazon. If you want to buy that, put it on your Kindle or order it, however you like to do, if you want it in hardback. But that's pretty much it.